We're now joined via Zoom by the Nelson Mandela Foundation CEO, Mr. Sello Hatang. Mr. Hatang, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. Now, of course, we know that Dr. Frene Ginwala played a significant role in our democracy, but also an instrumental role in the Nelson Mandela Foundation. Just your reaction on her passing.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. On behalf of the Board of Trustees of the Nelson Mandela Foundation and its staff, we want to pass our deepest condolences to the family and friends of Frene Ginwala. For us, she was special because, again, she was one of those people who were founding trustees of the foundation. Just checking in with the colleagues who worked with her way back before my time, they said she was one of those strict voices. She never minced her words about what needed to be done in terms of good governance and ensuring that the institution is run well. I think if we are to do anything as a country, is to take this moment and reflect on that legacy and ask ourselves, are we doing enough to ensure that we make that legacy live on and continue to live beyond all of us and beyond her lifetime? Madiba reminds us that with the passing of any person, no matter their age, it can be a very sad occasion. Our nation should be saddened by this, but shouldn't be paralyzed into acting and building a different way of working and ensuring that we have a more equal society than we have at the moment.
And now, as we, start to talk about that legacy, Mr. Hatang, that you mentioned, the essence of her legacy, even till her passing, in fact, was very much entrenched on justice, freedom, and democracy, which remained her key objectives. And as South Africans, of course, just given our climate, those are probably some of the most key, principles that we also need to espouse to.
You mentioned, I want to mention two that you mentioned of the three. The sense of justice, that we must be a just society. I think we will be found wanting when it comes to how we make sure that we have a more just society. Justice should also include how we have a society that observes how people are treated. Whether it be by the justice system or even how when they interact with the organs of state and also with us as individuals, how do they feel that their integrity and and dignity is being preserved? The second one is this sense of freedom. Again, there would be found wanting when it comes to freedom, because even there, how can you claim your freedom when the sanctuary of your home can be violated any time because of the level of lawlessness that we have and crime that we have? And at a time like this, we should then be using this moment to ask ourselves, how do we make freedom real, where freedom can then mean that you can also deliver food to your children, that no child goes to bed hungry? How do you then make sure that you deliver that freedom, sense of freedom, when it comes to access to water, that it be clean water? How do we make sure that that freedom is accessed when it comes to institutions that need to protect democracy, such as Parliament? And I think if we are to ensure that that freedom is preserved and protected, we must ensure that all of us go out of our way to hold those who are holding some sort of power, both private and public, that we hold them accountable. Here, I don't mean just people who are in government and politics, but us as citizens too, that we become constitutional beings. And constitutional beings just help protect each other's rights rather than ensuring that, rather than undoing what was the work of Mayor Frene Ginwala.
In his tribute, President Ramaphosa described her as a giant among a special generation of leaders to whom we owe our freedom and to whom we owe our commitment to keep building the South Africa to which they devoted their all. At this particular time, we do remember those giants which she worked with, and also remember their sacrifices. I mean, this is a woman that was in exile for over 30 years. She was sent to exile In 1960, in fact, she was contacted by Walter Sisulu in Durban on the night after the Sharpeville massacre in 1960 and advised to flee. She only made it back home in 1991. They sacrificed a lot. How do we continue on that thread?
I think there's no price that we can pay to kind of recognize that kind of struggle and that kind of sacrifice. And I'm reminded of the words of Nelson Mandela again when he asked himself after his mother passed on, would a person be justified to sacrifice so much, sacrifice their family, sacrifice that he couldn't even build his mother a house? And that kind of sacrifice cannot be repaid except by doing what's right by many South Africans. And this includes how we need to be ensuring that a little bit that we can do to make this a more safer society, one that does not destroy the little infrastructure that we have that's standing, one that ensures that the children and women are protected, that they are not abused in any way, shape or form, that we ensure that we are not a xenophobic country that protects those who not only protected us during a time of need, but also that recognizes the humanity of others. How do we recognize that Ubuntu should be core to our value system? How do we become a value-based society? A value-based society is one that says you cannot be enjoying the fruits of democracy while watching many others lose everything that they have around them. One of the images that you showed earlier on is of Frene Ginwala at the Nelson Mandela Foundation's auditorium. And one is reminded that those moments are made special because they were reminiscing about the past. As we remember them, we shouldn't be reminiscing about that past that's lost, but that those ghosts of the past will haunt us if we don't do right by many South Africans. Let's make sure that we journey forward without lingering, because it's in lingering that we then lose the very basis of our democracy,